Afternoon. Continuing our look at Basic Impetus 2, I thought this time I'd show you some of the different troop types, the basing system, and how to actually put an army together with Basic Impetus. For this I'm going to use my Crusader army as an example, and I'll be right back. Okay, so what we're going to talk about first then is basing and actual base sizes. I think when Impetus was first designed, a lot of people were using the DBX size bases. So the Impetus bases are multiples of DBX type bases. So for a DBX base, normally you'd have for 15mm anyway, you'd have a 40mm frontage. So in Impetus it's just doubled to an 8cm frontage for 15mm, 12cm for 28mm. And how that works is, even if you've got your figures based up for, say, DBA or any of the other rules that use the DBX system, you can still play Impetus. You just put bases together. Depth, it mentions it here, depth isn't particularly important. There's some suggested sizes, depth sizes here, which I do use, but you don't have to. So, what you can, for 15mm, everything's 8cm, the same frontage for all the units, and it's only the depth that is different depending on the figures you've got. Okay, so what I've got here is a load of old DBX based shape bases that I've got, or size bases. So these are all 40mm frontage. So in DBX you probably have 3 cavalry figures on a 40 by 30, I think that is, 40 by 30 base. So to play Impetus you just put 2 bases together and there's a cavalry unit, or you could put 4 bases together and that is a standard Impetus size base. So you'd have 4 bases of cavalry, but you don't have to. You could just have 2 if you wanted to. It makes no real difference. As long as both armies are the same, should be okay. And then for infantry again, you've got these are 40 by 20 bases. So again, for an Impetus unit, just put 2 bases together. Or you could add 4 bases together and you have an Impetus unit. So yeah, what I'm trying to say really is just you can use the old DBX base. If you've got DBA armies, you want to give this a try, you could use them. And even if you wanted to, you could just use your DBA army, just have 1 base. Make the range ruler for whatever size you want, and there's nothing to stop you trying out the rules just using, your DBA armies. Okay, so that's pretty much how the basing system works. I hope that makes sense. So your standard sort of infantry size Impetus base will be 80cm by 30 deep, and that's for heavy foot. Then for medium foot, so like light infantry and stuff like that, it'd be 40mm deep. And then for cavalry it's normally 60mm deep. Skirmishers, again, same as this one, so it's 80 by 30. Hope that makes sense. And obviously in the book you've got all your 28mm sizes as well, obviously they're a lot bigger. Okay, hope that makes sense. Going to move on to now is the different troop types. Okay then, so troop types. There's 2 general types of troop types that you can have. You can have infantry or cavalry, clearly. The foot troops are split up into various different types of infantry. So there you've got heavy infantry, which is FP. Bear in mind all these abbreviations are taken straight from the Italian version, so it doesn't quite make sense at first, but after a little while playing it just becomes natural. Then you've got light infantry, which is FL, missile troops, which is T, skirmishers S, and artillery ART. Then you have, impetuous heavy or light infantry, also called warbands. So you've got various different types of troops, and they're all based slightly differently, as I've kind of alluded to before. Mounted troops, again, you've got heavy cavalry, CP, medium cavalry, CM, light cavalry, CL, heavy war chariots, light war chariots, scythe chariots, elephants, wagonbergs, as various different types of cavalry or mounted troops. The one difference from the original Impetus and the original basic Impetus, in this one the heavy cavalry CP is further divided, so you can have CP1, which is like really heavily armoured cavalry like cataphracts, or fully armoured men-at-arms with armoured horses, so quite slow moving, or you can have the lighter and faster heavy cavalry, so as it says there, Macedonian companion cavalry or something like that. They're still heavy cavalry, but they can move a bit quicker, not quite as heavily armoured. Then we're moving on to Wagenburgs, camel-mounted troops and elephants. Things like Wagenburgs and stuff got a lot of special rules to them. I don't really use them, so I'm not really going to go into it. It's not a period of history I'm massively into, but it is all covered in here. There's some good examples of, how it all works. So, hope that makes sense. What I'm going to move on to next is an actual demonstration of how to put an army together. Okay, so finally then, we're going to look at how to put an army together. What we're going to use is a later Crusader list as an example. So what we have is, you have 2 Crusader Knights, which is CP1. My thing. Yep, so 2 Crusader Knights, which is CP1, which, as I mentioned before, is a heavy armoured cavalry. 3 units of foot sergeants, which is 3 times FP, which is heavy foot. 1 military orders, heavy foot again. 2 crossbowmen and 1 Maronite or Syrian archers, skirmishers. That is your basic army. Okay, and then we'll go into the options in a minute. I'll show you what a basic army looks like first. Okay, so what we've got there is my part of my much larger Crusader army. But this is for basic Impetus, and this is what you get. So what you have then, you've got your skirmishers, 2 units of heavy cavalry, 2 units of crossbowmen, 3 units of heavy infantry, and then 1 unit of military orders heavy infantry at the back. What you can do, which I forgot to mention, is the late Crusader list then, where you see a little star, where you see a little star next to the unit entry, that means that unit can include a general. So what I normally do is, in the Crusader Knights, I attach a general to that unit. Okay, so obviously there we've got King Richard III, first even. What am I talking about? Richard the Lionheart. Anyway, there he is there on his white horse. So that's the general of the army in that unit there. Okay, so what we can do then, we have a few options with the army. Looking at it again, what we can do, the first option, we can change 1 CP, so that's one of the heavy cavalry with a unit of Turcopoles and another unit of crossbowmen. Okay, so we'll do that. So get rid of these knights, swap them, and what you can have instead is a unit of Turcopoles, which are medium cavalry with bows, quite useful, and another unit of crossbowmen. So then that would be your basic Impetus army. Okay. What you could also do is take them away again. Put the knights back. Next thing you could do then, second option. Second option then is you can change 1 unit of heavy cavalry and a unit of crossbowmen with military orders heavy cavalry. So I'll quickly do that, I'll show you what it looks like. So, unit heavy cavalry and a unit of crossbowmen, replace them with Knights Templar heavy cavalry. Yeah, slightly smaller army, but you've got the Knights Templar heavy knights there, which are obviously hard as nails. Okay, and then your third option, what you could do is put it back to the standard army again. Third option, what you could do is, I'll show you again, you can change 1 unit of skirmishers or a unit of T, which is missile troops, for 2 initiative rerolls, which can be quite useful. So what we could do, we could, I don't know, we could get rid of the skirmishers, or one of these, whichever one you wanted, and then replace that with 2 initiative rerolls there. What I normally do is just keep 2 red dice on the side of my table to remind me that I've got 2 rerolls. As I use it, it goes back in the pot. So that's quite handy. So as you can see, there's quite a few options there. Even though it's a basic game, you've still got a bit of flexibility in the way you want to build your army. And all the armies are slightly different. You've got different options. You can do different things. And if you're playing the Great Battles part of the game, where you can have more than one command, then you could have three Crusader armies, but they could all be slightly different, which is always an option. I think that's about me. I hope you found that useful. Anyone who's thinking about playing basic Impetus, I hope it gives you an idea of the kind of forces that you need. As you can see, you don't really need that many figures, and it's up to you how many figures you want to put on a base. It's up to you. What I've got here is a 10mm base as well, so it's the same base frontage. It's just got a lot more figures on it. It counts as the same as a heavy infantry unit. It's just a small scale figure with more figures on the base. Or what I've got is a 6mm base here as well. That's on a 60mm frontage, so my unit of measure would be 30 millimeters instead of the 40 millimeters for the bigger figures. And there was the Roses figures, so I've even made 30mm measuring tool. More Wars of Roses stuff. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble on a little bit now. I'll have a look next time and maybe go into, on the next video, how to actually set up the battlefield, how you deploy your armies, and that sort of stuff. Hope you found this useful, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.